and welcome to Raising Vibrations with myself, Simon. Today we're going to be beginning with the Moon Sign series. Firstly, I know that you're super excited to be able to have this series actually complete, and I'm super happy to be able to reproduce it in a way where my inspiration and connectivity is back in the actual series itself, other than because I actually lost the content before, and I didn't feel like recreating it where my inspiration wasn't there for it. So that's why the delay was actually in place. Okay, cool. So what we're going to be doing through this Moon series video, and what my intentions are, is to create a very structured and sound sense of awareness around what the moon actually means in the birth chart. Again, my main work here is about creating a very well-grounded and integratable process and awareness regarding the astrological symbols, so that none of you walk around with these definitions in your head trying to achieve them or trying to be this way, versus actually recognizing that these are part of yourself in that sense, and you are trying to integrate them into your life, not trying to define yourself through them, but integrate them into your life. There's a subtle difference, and I hope I can try to, in some way, shape, or form, get that across. Okay, so the first space that I want to really create in this moon sign introduction video is that it's really important that you actually do watch this one, because when you watch the moon in the house and in its sign, you will be able to understand how to integrate this teaching into the archetype that it's in. In other words, what sign it is in, or what house it's in for you. Okay, so that you can create this really strong synthesis of information. So the moon sign introduction is going to give you a lot of information about how to understand what its functionality is in the chart. And then the moon itself, in terms of wherever house it is, gives you that really sort of perspective of how it operates. Okay, does that make sense? Like, under what conditions, should I say? Okay, so the moon itself in the birth chart, and this is a misconception. I'll start firstly with the misconception. The misconception is that this is like your most unconscious habits. Okay, this is one of the things that I've seen through astrology blogs and so on and so forth, these unconscious habits. And there is a partial truth to this process, but it is not the entirety. Okay, the moon itself, from an evolutionary perspective, is the point in our consciousness that reflects Cancer. Cancer, the archetype, the fourth house. So fourth house, Cancer, and the moon are all the same archetype within your consciousness, the law of three, the Trinity. Okay? So it reflects the necessary process and evolution of creating security, creating a sense of feeling secure within oneself. Okay? The moon. Fourth house in the Cancer. And the way that like sense of belonging, that sense of security, that sense of safety gets established is through the consistent behavior of doing something. A behavior process that is consistent in your life, that over a period of time reflects to you a constant reality. Okay? So Cancer, the fourth house, okay, naturally creates an opposition to Capricorn. And Capricorn and Saturn, in the astrological definition and through natural law, reflects motion. So when you are moving, when you are acting and doing something, and you're constantly creating something, again, that word constantly, you are creating a series of events that, when you reflect back on, gives you a sense of knowing. So the moon, the fourth house in Cancer, reflects this archetype of security, nurturing, and protection through doing something consistently and over a period of time, being reflected back at you, water sign, of something that makes you feel secure, known, right? So the past, and this then is why we correlate it to habits. Okay, habits, my habits, these kind of habits that I have that allow me to, that I act upon, or sort of, basically act upon based on something that I am familiar with, that I feel secure within. Does that make sense? So the moon in the birth chart is how the soul then creates security, internal security, relative to familiar action in a moment-to-moment way. Okay? Does that make sense? So a practical way that I could put this across is simply the Cancer Capricorn archetype. Our home represents this place of security, nurturance, and protection. The home, Cancer. I'm belonging here. I feel secure here. I can behave in this process, right? When I go out into the world, I go out and I gather stuff and I work and do whatever it is that you do, not me personally, in the sense of what I'm talking about here. But we go out and do things. And then what happens is that as we do things the same day in and out, we go to work, we do our work, we come back, through that month period, for instance, or through that week period, we gain a sense of consistency. I consistently do that. Therefore, through those consistent behaviors, I get this reflection of experiences, life experiences. And these life experiences start to shape me. They start to give me a perspective of who I am relative to a sense of identity. So the moon, the fourth house in Cancer in the birth chart, all connected together in a holistic way, reflects to us our egos, our conscious egos. So the deception or the sort of non-scorpionic core truth of what the moon actually symbolizes is this identity structure that we have on a very conscious way. It is our emotional security that we consistently embed into our reality on a moment-to-moment basis, on a week-to-week basis, and a month-to-month basis, and a year-to-year basis, that gives us a sense of identity. So for me, my name is Simon. I was given that name, or that identity, as it were, that definition. And throughout my life, when somebody sends my name, I react to it, right? I'm identifying myself with that. It is also the process of how I communicate myself to you. So if you had to meet me and we had to start speaking about each other, and I shared with you who I am, I would share based on my experiences, all my definitions about what's all right and wrongs and truths and etc. all come through to these experiences that I've gathered through my life as I've gone through the motion of things. So that gives me a very concrete and attachable thing in this, or tangible thing and attachable thing to this 3D experience that we have here. Does that make sense? This world. And so when we talk about ourselves, we talk from the sense of knowing of the past that gives us a sense of identity and something that keeps us feeling secure relative to something that is known. So what happens here is that all this archetype of the moon fourth house and how it operates and the mechanics of how it and expresses itself then acts as a vehicle of evolution. The ego, the physical body, the physical identity, okay? And so in this lifetime, I've been given this name, Simon, for instance. Raising Vibrations has been given a name, and it carries the essence of that spiritual experience. So the moon, fourth house in Cancer, is the boat or container that the essence is contained in that carries the life experiences. And as we go along these life experiences, we get shaped by these processes, by these moments, by these experiences, okay? Now, I'm going to slow down a little bit here and now take the third level and the deepest level to this process. The moon, fourth house in Cancer, shows us how we transition from the past into the future in every single moment, okay? So we have this linear experience of the past, what we feel familiar with, what we feel secure within, etc., etc. And then we have the future, an abstract point in space that has not been explored for us to be able to have illumination, to have that experience contained within us. So the process of going about making new choices, north node, under old circumstances, south node, and how we assimilate that, how we process that, how we go through that experience, moon sign. So south node, north node, moon sign. And it is that trinity in your birth chart that reveals to you how you transition from your south node to your north node through the comfortability and security and ways and habits of the moon. Okay? That's how the karmic axis works. That is evolution. We evolve through the emotional body. How many of you guys can remember when you had you went to a restaurant and you had a bad experience? That emotional assimilation of that experience is what then defines you to speak to your friend and say, oh, don't go to that place because that was really, really bad food. You react from an emotional experience relative to an attachment of that experience, moon, right? You see how that operates? So what happens here is that when you look at your birth chart from an evolutionary perspective and you understand how to actually aid somebody's evolutionary process, you take the sign that it's in, South Node, for instance, I'm a bad example because it's all sort of in the same place. But let's say you have South Node in Sagittarius, North Node in Gemini, Moon in Scorpio, okay? So in your birth chart, you have past pre-existing patterns and definitions and feelings and conditionings around truth and philosophy and belief structures, etc. And you're moving into making new choices that creates new realities for you, North Node, that is very vulnerable, that is very open, that has never been explored before. And now you make that choice, Gemini. Diversity, inclusion, communication, etc., etc. The way you go about transitioning between those two abstract points in space is through the physical representation of the moon, ego, and that is in Scorpio. So you would probably want to find somebody that's very deep and intense and allows for emotional commitment, emotional enmeshment. You want to get somebody that's really, really to the core of something. And that's how you'll challenge yourself through moving from the South Node to the North Node. If it was in, for instance, Aries, you would probably find a very independent way of expressing that transition between South and North Node. Does that make sense? So again, to recap, the nodes reflect the past and the future. The moon sign reflects how you transition from the past into the future and how you create and support your emotional need in each of those moments. And as you do that, you create a consistent behavior that then reflects back to you how you personally inwardly see yourself. Not how other people see you, but how you personally see yourself. So for me, I have Moon in Gemini. So for myself, I have this natural inward communication within myself. I see myself as a communicator. I see myself as somebody that expresses. Okay? My Moon is in the 5th house, so therefore it's in Leo. So in order to get a really deep understanding of how I do that process, I would attach the Leo archetype and the Gemini archetype together. And here I am on YouTube, creatively expressing myself through communication. Cool, eh? So when you watch this video series, locate where your house placement is of your moon, locate where the sign is, and when you merge those two together, you'll have a clear representation of how that operates, okay? Fantastic, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this introduction video. I really hope that you enjoy this series. I will be releasing one video every single day for the next 12 days as this operates. If you're interested in booking a reading for myself, please click on the link that's going to be available right now. If you are interested in reading the article that I've created that is talking about integrating sun and moon signs, the link is also available on the left-hand side here. And finally, if you are interested in doing other stuff like watching a video that I've created called Integrating Sun and Moon Signs, the link will also be in the video on the side over here. Okay? Other than that, guys, hit the like and subscribe button and take care. Bye-bye.